Welcome to Glitch Please, the show where we talk about video games and what we're playing and what's new and what's hot and what's happening in the video game industry. I'm Ashley.
I'm Sam, and I'm here today because y'all are very nice for having me.
I'm Adam.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome, Sam.
Hi.
Sam, this is the
This is your
first
first
time
time?
we've had you on Glitch Please, right?
Yeah.
But I was talking to Chad, who was with us last week, and he was saying that you were big into the Far Cry games, and Far Cry 5 came out this week. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. So I wanted to invite you on. Thank you for making it over here.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
I know it's a trek for you coming from our other facility.
The like a 5-minute trek, but yeah.
Oh, look,
We used to
get
be
in
in
your car
Dallas.
and deal with
so
traffic. It's a trek.
we drove down for 3 hours to do stuff back in the day. So for me now, it's like, we got relocated here, 6-8 months ago. So it's just fine.
What you're saying is that all we have to do is torture people really badly at first, and then minor inconveniences seem like a big deal.
It's not that big.
It's the Rooster Teeth way.
Nice. So this week, we're going to talk about Far Cry 5. There's been a couple of interesting developments in the video game industry, which we'll also cover. And all of that is brought to you by us, because we have a new website. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But if you're on the website, you are probably already seeing it. If not, we'll tell you how you can. So before we get into all of that fun stuff, what have you been playing, Adam?
So it's been mostly Far Cry, but my situation has evolved a little bit.
Oh my.
So I'm like normally a guy that, like, I'll buy my PC and use it for like 4 years before I upgrade anything. And I never upgrade like my monitor. Like the furthest I'll go for accessories is like keyboard, mouse. And like sometimes I'll have a headset, but.
Yeah, big question, are you a clicker keyboard guy?
Oh yeah, like I want the loudest keyboard possible. So I recently got a pair of speakers, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but I've never had a good
Speakers?
I've never had a good pair of speakers. Like these are like they have a nice subwoofer. It's a 2.1 system, so there's 2 satellite speakers and a subwoofer. And having a decent set of speakers and going from like either $11 speakers or like a headset that isn't always the best in terms of sound is incredible. Like it has totally transformed the games I play.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you live with Grace?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds fucking annoying then. I will tell you right now that, is she around when you're playing games?
I closed the door. Like, listen, we're also on opposite schedules. Like, she works nights.
So what you're saying is she's trying to sleep while you're blasting sound out of your computer.
She's at work when I'm getting home, basically. So not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll back off that a little bit.
I'm courteous enough that when she's sleeping, I will pop on headphones. But when she's not, like, I'm using my speakers now.
I like speakers and the like TV sound and all of that. But I do find that if one person is playing a game for like an 8 or 10 hour marathon, it gets real annoying. So I've started using headphones, even if I'm playing on a console. Yeah. You know what? It's not working.
No, I wouldn't think so.
It's not working at all.
The speakers are fucking awesome.
I remember like way back in the day, it was when the first Half-Life 2 expansion came out. Like I just got a new computer and I sold my WoW account so I could buy like the most badass speakers I could get.
What did your WoW account look like? What did you get for it?
I think I got like $250 at the time, and I would think I was 17. So
for 17, $250
for a video game
nice.
You played, yeah, it was pretty decent. Yeah, it worked out okay. Yeah. So and then I had some badass speakers and played Half-Life like at full volume. I'm sure my parents appreciated that. And then now I've been headphone person ever since.
Yeah. I still will use headphones, but man, it really does make a difference. Like
it's awesome. Yeah.
You can like feel all the sound going through you. Like I'm like, when I was flying a helicopter in Far Cry, I could hear every little, like all the detail in the sound is so apparent, and like the bass is running through you, and like you just hear like all the little like jingle jangles of the equipment, and you hear like the prop. It's fucking awesome. But that prompted me to start going through other games and seeing what games had good sound design. I'm still not through.
I saw you put out a tweet about that.
Yeah, I was like, I need to, like, what happened was I loaded up Ni no Kuni, and I started hearing sounds that I hadn't heard before, like just like the texture of the foot crunches as they walked along, like stuff that just wasn't apparent in the 30 hours I played that game. And that made me go like, holy shit, there's sounds I haven't heard yet. So I wanted to like go through and find other games that had good sound. And I loaded up The Witcher 3 again, because I have like a hit list of games, and it is The Witcher 3, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, that's a great list. You should get on that.
It's a great list and also very intimidating. But
there's a lot of hours in that list.
I don't really know how to start, but that's another topic. But I loaded up The Witcher 3, and that game has phenomenal sound design, and also is like still a really beautiful game. I haven't played it since I upgraded my graphics card, and I cranked it up to ultra, and it runs like butter. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, this game looks really good. However, I'm still trying to like optimize. I was noticing that when I cranked everything up and I turned the sharpness all the way up, it looked kind of not gritty, but like I could see too much. And so I turned the sharpness down, and it was like it's just the right amount of soft. But I think I need to mod that game to make it look better. But I think I'm gonna get back into that game before Horizon and Persona. But I'm not sure if I should restart or not.
Well, you could always just go with the strategy of playing them in chronological order, which would put The Witcher in the #1 spot.
The Witcher, then Horizon, then Persona?
I think, well, Horizon and Persona came out really close together. Ben, you want to check which one came out first? I want to say Persona came out first, but they were within a week or two of each other. They were both February games, I think.
So.
Persona is an intimidating game because that's the one I have the least of a handle on. I feel like I've been like 10 hours in. I'm at the point where the first time you have like a 2-week countdown, and it's like, hey, you got 2 weeks to do some shit. And that's where I was like, I'm intimidated. Stop. And now it's even worse because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm intimidated.
I just feel like 5 has been such a heavy hitter, and like I haven't really messed with the Persona franchise, so it seems like such a hard spot to get into. But I really want to play it because like I've always been a big fan of JRPGs, and it seems like this is.
Do you like them
pinnacle.
turn-based?
Yeah, quite a bit. Not all the time.
Yeah.
But it depends on the turn-based. Like if you go back to like Ni no Kuni 1, the turn-based kind of was a little boring, I would say, at least. And then if you go to like Bravely Default or something, at least it's a little bit more interesting. So
I came up in JRPGs on the Final Fantasy X turn-based, and then they adjusted it a little bit, and there was the ATB or something of Final Fantasy X-2, where you had the gauge fill up. It wasn't just we're going in this order specifically, and then you would have to do things and could get interrupted, and there was that whole thing going on.
See, I think 10's was perfect. You get quick slash and move it up. Like I think 10's like the most underrated of the Final Fantasies by far. I love that game.
Thank you. Just platinumed it.
Really?
I did. You want me to tell you all about it? Because I've only talked about it on this podcast for the last like 10 weeks.
It's a good game. Like it's fantastic.
Give me a break.
Yeah, but so I came up in that sort of that type of turn-based. So I really like Personas. It's very much that sort of turn-based. Although they're not specific speeds so much. Each of the characters goes in turn. The enemies go in turn. You can knock them down, and then they don't get a turn, whatever. But it's turn-based, which I like seeing because Final Fantasy very much went away from that, and I missed it ever since. So I like seeing that in Persona 5. And because each of the Persona games are a self-contained story, you don't need to have played any of the other ones to get into it. After I played 5, I did go back and play Persona 4 Golden on Vita and loved that as well. And then after I played that, I could start to see some of the criticisms that series fans had for some of the Persona 5 characters that I didn't see before because, it was all new to me. So Persona 5 is actually a great jumping in point, and then you can work backwards from there. And then if you want to get real crazy, you can go do like the dancing games.
Yeah, I think I'm good on that.
So on the topic of release dates, Persona 5 was originally supposed to be released February 14th, but it got delayed to April 4th. Horizon Zero Dawn released February 28th.
Really?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
My entire impression of time from last year is clearly way off.
The thing that happened was that March 1st Zelda launched, and so that whole month was just lost. So it technically was a week apart.
That was like a black hole.
Yeah.
That
absolutely.
once that came out, didn't do anything else for a while.
Yeah, that game was really good.
So there's another thing I'm looking at in terms of sound. Now that I've tried badass speakers, there's a thing called a sub pack, and what this is like there's two models, and one of them is like something you just put in the back of your chair, and basically it hooks into you plug an auxiliary cable into it or a USB cable into it, and it will take your sound and vibrate it through your body. And the other one is you literally strap it on like a pack to your back, and it like blasts bass through your body, like it shakes you in like a really crazy way. Like it's a lot more intense than it sounds. Like it sounds really stupid. It sounds like a back massager, but it's really like
back massage.
Right. But I'm looking at getting one of those, but they don't make a model big enough for me. So if there's any alternatives out there that you know of.
You can
me up.
probably pick up the Res vibrator real cheap.
Listen, this is not a small thing. Like, it's big, but not big enough.
That's
they used
what
to make
she
the
said.
vests, right? Like the huge vests.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know that
totally-
was a thing for a while.
Yeah,
they made
those-
them in Dallas. Their company was next to us.
They're fucking cool, dude. Like, I tried Marcus's. I'm like, this is really cool. It's just too small for me.
So this is what the sub pack looks like?
Yeah, so on me, that's like this big, so.
Well, that's what you get for being a large shooter.
It sucks. It sucks.
That thing would probably be way too big on me. I'd just be a little mouse in it.
It would be your entire back, but that's awesome.
Couldn't you just get like a big enough subwoofer to just shake your room like I would do?
Yeah, but those are like thousands of dollars versus. My dad builds custom speakers, so he's hearing, like, I told him that I was like, Dad, I got a pair of speakers for the first time. He's like, I'm so proud of you, son. He's like, but one day we're going to build you a pair of speakers that aren't shit. I'm like, all right.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
That
It's like
could
what
be
he's
a
done
lovely
his
father-son
whole,
project.
like he's done that like his whole life. He's been building like his sound system is kind of unbelievable. He has subwoofers that are like 6 feet long and like 2 feet or like 3 feet high and like just like an insane amount of like custom built speakers. Like he designs the PCBs. Like he's that crazy about them, and he like builds the cabinets and he does everything.
Yeah, I don't know what a PCB is.
Printed
So
circuit board. Yeah.
that sounds
Technical
That
jargon.
sounds
That's what it
technical.
is.
It's not. It's just like that's the level of like minutia he's in.
Now, one game that you'll probably find highly recommended if you're interested in
I know what you're
sound
gonna say.
design, Hellblade.
Yeah.
Because that's got that sort of
But everyone's like play that with
simulated
headphones.
binaurals. Yes, that's true. I'd be curious to see what you think playing it on speakers. Do your speakers, they simulate surround,
They
right?
do. They simulate it. And
So I'd be
it works
interested to see how
really
that
good.
works.
Yeah.
As opposed to the headphones, because in the headphones, it very much they did a great job simulating binaural.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back and try that. When I was playing it in headphones, I was already blown away by how ridiculous it was. Like just the whispers everywhere, and yeah. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Sound is fun. I didn't realize like how important it was to your gaming experience.
And how much you've missed.
Yeah, dude. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of detail and sound that I didn't know I was missing out on by playing with just like $11 speakers or headphones that aren't necessarily the best headphone quality or like audio quality. So.
How about you? What you been playing?
Sadly, still PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I don't know what I would do with my time without it right now. It's weird because like I'm at a point where I think this is the first game I've ever been like truly good at. So and like it's like getting
Only taken
disgusting.
you
Like I think I
20-something
just
years.
yeah I just crossed like 900 hours I think. So it's like I'm
my
deep in
fucking
this
God.
shit. And also like
That's a lot of hours.
To be fair, like the current relationship I'm in is like entirely built on it. Like we met. Had one date, and then she was like, "Oh, I just started playing this game," and I was like, "Well, you know, because if you win, you get a chicken dinner." I was like, "Let me help you." First game I played with her, we won, and then it was like, she was like, "Okay, so when's the second date?" I was like, "Yes, clinch that." So actually, I think you know her, Vanessa. You're all her friends.
I know her, yeah.
Yeah,
She was one of the first people I met when I moved to Austin. That's crazy. Hi, Vanessa.
I think you might also too, because she was a frag doll, and apparently you were as well.
Potentially different times.
Okay.
So, because I was part of the original crew, and then I moved countries. So basically, anyone who joined after that, I never met. And it's
okay.
weird that there are so many people that came through that same group who I've never even crossed paths with. It's weird to think about. But I think she would have been one of the later rounds.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just odd because like that's what we do as a couple. Like that's how our entire relationship started. So it's like that's what we do. And now, after 900 some hours, I actually feel like really good at a video game. Like I can do that weird thing if you ever watch like professional FPS where they do like the wrist snap and they just shoot like a dozen times. I can finally do that, and it feels amazing. And yeah, so that mainly, and now Far Cry 5 because I've always been a pretty big fan of the franchise. Although I know we'll get into it, but like 3, I feel like is this big pinnacle. So
That's where that's not where it peaked for me. That's where it really captured me. Was 3, but
yeah,
I think that's
3
where they
was-
found their formula.
yeah, definitely, absolutely. And they got rid of the malaria, which
Yeah.
was important.
From 2. Oh my god, that was what an annoying mechanic. Christ, malaria was terrible.
Yeah, malaria's bad.
They just railed it into you, and like the whole time you had to take pills and like find I think it was the syringes for it or something by doing quests. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Malaria was bad. What was the other one? Instincts? Far Cry Instincts, right?
They had, so there was the entire line of console ones. There was Far Cry Instincts, Far Cry Instinct Predator, and
That was
there
the
might have
Xbox
been
one,
like,
right?
yeah, and then I think there was, maybe there was a separate one the spun off from that for Wii.
Did Far Cry Instinct's Predator have
Yeah,
the
there
Predator
was a
in
motion
it?
control one.
So Far
Was it
Cry.
actually like?
Well, so they had this thing in Far Cry. It was either Instincts or Predator, where you actually you would inject yourself with something that would give you like these crazy predator instincts, so you could smell people, and that would be visualized by like a yellow like fog on the screen, and so you could follow their scent trail, and you could just attack people with your hand claws,
Yeah,
and
there
just
was,
like
like-
rip them.
So they were
tear them
trying
down.
weird shit.
Yeah.
They were trying some crazy shit.
You got like classic animal.
Far
abilities.
Cry
Like, there's,
Vengeance,
Rhino
that was
charge
the
and
one for
stuff.
the Wii.
Yeah, the spin-offs are Instinct, Instinct Evolution, Instinct's Predator, Paradise Lost, Vengeance, Blood Dragon, and Primal.
Man, I don't even know what Paradise Lost was.
Yeah, that's
What
a
is
lot
that?
that's a lot of spin-offs.
Is that like a mobile one or something?
Oh, it's a rail shooter arcade game.
Oh,
Nice.
That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. So but I feel like they settled into their formula with 3. So then Blood Dragon, 4, Primal, 5. They all follow essentially the same formula, which is a shift from what they had with Far Cry to Far Cry 2. And the console ones were just like, whatever, we'll just try something. Who cares?
Yeah.
Put it out. And full disclosure, I was working at Ubisoft at the time when I worked there 2004 to 2008. I actually worked on the digital marketing campaign for Far Cry 2.
Oh, nice.
Stunningly, the malaria was not a big part of the campaign.
Who would have thought?
It's not a good selling point. Hey, you can get malaria when you play this game. What do you think? What?
But I've been playing obviously Far Cry. I went back, played some side quests in Ni no Kuni 2. Still really loving that. It is such a lovely
Yeah,
game.
I got distracted
It
with
is
Far
just
Cry.
so beautiful.
I really actually God, the first one probably came out 5-6 years ago. Something like that?
2012.
12. Okay, yeah, so about 6 years ago. Because I remember I did back when ScrewTech did like actual video reviews. I did the video review for Ni no Kuni. And that game, I thought it was wonderful. Like, I love that game. The only
was
small
so
complaint
beautiful.
I had was the combat was just a little dry. But
Yeah, well, they've shifted the combat big time in this one. So they got rid of the familiars. And now the equivalent is these little things called Higgledies that you can find throughout the world. And there'll be dark power Higgledies, fire power Higgledies, little green leafy Healy Higgledies. And then you can take a certain number of them into battle with you. They will get their friends together, and then they can cast big spells for you to help you out. So you get some of the dark ones, and they'll cast like fucking nuclear bomb, which is great. And then the green ones will put up like a healing circle and so on. So they changed that whole system around a lot. But overall, the combat's pretty fun. The game skews a little bit easy. If you're on a level with a monster that you're fighting, you'll probably kick its ass unless it's one of they've got like these tainted monsters that are the super boss of that version of monster, and those ones are a lot tougher. But it skews pretty easy if you're on a level for whatever area you're in.
Yeah, I'm in a weird position where I'm very underleveled. Like I just did.
Do you like it that way?
Yes and no. Like I'm trying to catch up and I can't find a way to, and that's sort of where I've just been grinding enemies, and I'm at like I think my character's like level 43 or something like that, and I just got done the area like the enemies are like level 54, so I'm like way behind in terms of level.
43. I would assume you would be grinding your broadleaf then.
Yeah, but
'Cause I think most of those enemies-
I just got done there.
But most of those enemies would be like mid to high 40s, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean,
you get some that stray over into the 50s, but you can at least run from those ones. I think that's where I did my 40s grinding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to find like it's just I think I'm a little stuck right now, but
Gotcha.
still into it.
Where I get stuck is with the skirmishes. So there's also like an RTS.
yeah, I saw that like the top-down kind of.
Yeah. So where you can have up to 4 squads and take them into this RTS top-down battle that takes place in the overworld, and so you can have spears or swords or hammers or like range like archers, or sometimes they're pistoliers. Pistol dudes, whatever.
Let's go with Pistoliers.
Pistoliers. It sounds pretty dope. And then it's basically rock, paper, scissors. Like sword beats hammer, hammer beats spear, spear beats sword. And so you want to try and like rotate your troops around so that the strongest squad is taking on like an enemy that they're strong against. But it's difficult because the first encounter I had was like, we recommend you be level 3. And the one right next to it was, we recommend you be level 17.
Yep.
and I didn't know where to get from 3 to 17. So you can refight a lot of the battles, which I ended up doing. I ended up finding one that was like level 6 and grinding that one out for ages, and it was really annoying. So the skirmishes aren't actually my favorite. It might be easier now that the game is out for everyone. There's probably wikis all over the place. They're like, here's this level of skirmish. But if you're just playing it, it was kind of annoying to run around and just run up to every flag you see. Maybe I can take on this skirmish? No, of course I can't. This one wants me in the 25s.
Yeah.
But overall, worth playing?
Love it.
Okay.
Absolutely
It's a
love it.
super like light and fluffy, cute game. Like it's not. There's nothing like heavy-handed about it, or it's all just like go enjoy this whimsical fantasy world. And there's a bunch of animation.
And the characters all believe the best in everybody.
Yeah.
Is there any weight in the story though? Then like
It's pretty. I mean, bad things happen, but the main character, Little King Evan, is just this hopeless optimist who wants to create a kingdom where everyone can live happily ever after, and he believes the best in his enemies even, and just wants the world to be a great place, and believes that everyone else wants it that way too. And sure, it's really naive, but it's lovely to see after all the angst fest you end up with in so many JRPGs.
I still find
it's
myself
refreshing.
I still find myself rooting for Evan and his band of guys and dudes because they're awesome. Like they're so happy and fun, and you just want them to get everything done. And it's like even though it's lighthearted and like there's not huge stakes, well there is, but they're very like distant. But like I think you still root for them, so it still keeps you engaged.
Yeah. So like even when bad things happen, they keep pretty upbeat. Unlike the first game, which was like a tearjerker of a start.
yeah.
That one is
Well, your mom's dying like ASAP, right? That's how the whole thing
basically
starts?
you're in the first one. The premise is your mom dies, you cry on this little doll she got you, and it comes to life and becomes Drippy the fairy.
Yeah.
And
Who is a great character.
then you go into this Ni no Kuni world looking for your mom's soulmate because there's like twin souls. There's one in each world, and if he wants to save the one in Ni no Kuni's world because then maybe he can save his mom who died.
Gotcha.
So it's a real downer. The tone is still treated relatively like whimsically, and he's not running around being angsty the whole time. But it's a sadder note to start on than this. I mean, I guess this one is like, hey, this dude poisoned your dad, and now you just got overthrown. So that sucks. But he also doesn't dwell on it very long.
No.
Just moves right past the dead dad thing. That's great.
Yeah, he really does. He's like, well, that sucks. Let's start a new kingdom. So he's very resilient. Great game. Really recommend it. But then also Sea of Thieves. We talked about this more in depth last week on Glitch Please. But Bernie, he is loving this game, man. Did I tell you he bought all of us wooden tankards? Because so we could have like a whole a family pirate weekend. He bought us all wooden tankards. And he made, because this was family friendly, he made family friendly grog, which was basically ginger beer with, I think, some pineapple, coconut, and lime. Really delicious, by the way.
That sounds awesome.
I'm all about the family grog now. And he got us little pirate hats, and he gave us all a banana, and we sat down to play Sea of Thieves together as a pirate.
really
That's hella
sweet.
adorable.
It's
That's really sweet.
Yeah, he really, really, really likes it. He's been doing a ton of grinding because you can customize your ship, right? But it takes so much money to do so. It's like $70 for a sail. I don't even know what it costs to customize the paint on the ship, but whatever it is, he grinded all the way up and did it because he wanted to make us a nice family ship.
That's very nice.
So he's been really, really loving it. I was playing a lot of Far Cry over the weekend, so I didn't join in all of the family sessions, but this is the kind of game that I think I'm only gonna play when he really needs a buddy.
Yeah.
Until they add a bunch more stuff. I already feel like I've been going through all the different mission types, and they're essentially the same thing with a few small variations. So I'm okay just not.
They posted an update video, and it didn't really talk about a whole lot. It was just like, we have a lot of demand for the game, and we're gonna try to meet it.
Yeah, and they were gonna introduce a death tax, and
Oh my God, I'm so thankful.
they were gonna make people pay for it. Like if you die, and the amount was gonna be scaled based on how avoidable the death is.
So if you're really stupid, you lose a lot.
Right. I think so. And everyone was like, what is wrong with you?
It seems
Because
like,
people get pirate ganked all the time, and like it already sucks if you lose like your chests or whatever it is that you're hoping to deliver to an outpost, and then you just got sunk and you lost everything. That seems like enough of a punishment.
Yeah, not only that, like it would discourage people fucking around, like shooting their friends out of cannons and like all the just the goof aroundy stuff. Like you don't want to. There's no reason to punish your player. It doesn't add anything.
And especially for how like the game is just like, look, everybody can play. Like it's kind of like open for casual playing. Like why would you put in this like
this punishment
death tax? Yeah,
right.
It seems weird. The game looks fun, and a lot of people like Chad has been playing like crazy, and they're like, come play. And I'm like, what do? You just pirate around, and then there's no goal. That kills me. Like it looks like a lot of fun. It like the water looks incredible. Cool, but like I need something. I need an objective or a goal, or at least like a ladder where I can be like, look, I'm better than you. Like I need one of those things.
We talked about this last week, and we played last week, and I had a good amount of fun. And I tried playing one more time, and I was like, this is boring, and I stopped playing. And I'm done.
Yeah, for me, I have fun when I'm playing it. Mm-hmm. Whatever I'm doing, I have a good time. But I think it's because I've got my good family crew, and we like having something that we can all play together. The last thing that we all played together, I think, was Don't Starve together. And the boys, the youngest gets really frustrated, like if he dies and we can't resurrect him, because then he's just faffing around as a ghost, and we're like, don't come near us, you're haunting us, and that's bad. And so then he just like gets frustrated.
That seems like a really hard game to play as a family. Like
I got to the point. Not in, like, we just came back to it recently, but when we were initially playing it, I got to the point where I was like, here's your food, here's your stuff, go in the fort, you're good. And I had a whole complex going on. I built up everything that they needed. I had all of the hunting taken care of. I had fur coats for the winter. You
were ready.
It was established. I was doing like some super, like in-game super mom shit. It was pretty dope. It was how I found out that I might actually have a maternal instinct. Just
in video games, so.
Well, potentially. Yeah. But either way, I was like, I'm providing. And that felt pretty great. So we're not back to that point yet. Yeah. So he gets frustrated when he dies. But Sea of Thieves, we don't have that. Mm-hmm. So this is something we can all play together. And I like that. But for me, I don't have any urge to just go play it randomly for myself. I will only play it if someone else is playing and wants someone to play with.
Yeah, it also seems like a game, like, why would you ever play by yourself? Like, maybe, people say, like, oh, it's peaceful. It's like, okay.
It is a bit zen. It is. It's kind of nice sailing around. You've got your ship and open seas and go do whatever you like. There's a freedom in that, and it's kind of relaxing, but...
Like, so are bats. I'll take one of those. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I just need something.
I thought you said bats, and I was like,
no,
what the
bats.
fuck is relaxing?
Now, if it was on the Switch and I could sail around in the bath, pure immersion, I'm down. Let's go. But
yeah, the devs have put out 2 of those videos, like you were saying, basically talking about like what they're doing to fix the network just so they can make sure everyone can join the game. But at the end of their most recent video they dropped 2 days ago, they've said that their next video is hopefully going to be, here's all of the feedback we've taken and some stuff we're hoping to add to the game soon and what's kind of down the line for additional content.
Great. So yeah, I do have hopes for that game. I think it can be something really, really special. I think that there are some decent bones in there, but it needs work.
Yep.
Anyway, so all of which we've discussed on the last couple episodes. So if you're still with us, we do have Far Cry 5 to talk about as well. We put out a standalone video earlier this week. You and I discussed our thoughts on the game before it came out. We did get some early copies, which was pretty dope. So we'll talk about that more in just a second. But before we do, quick heads up, we have a new website. Now, if you're watching on the website, you're already seeing it. If you're not watching on the website, go to roosterteeth.com. You can go to theknow.tv, which is our website for The Know, and see what it's all about. We've updated the web player so it remembers where you're at in a video, and we've got cues, and we've got all kinds of fun stuff. And we've also got a new mobile site, new iOS and Android apps, so no matter where you are, you can watch stuff, and it's going to be pretty great. The engineering teams worked really, really hard on this. There's chat now on all the live streams, which is really great. There's always a bunch of like Rooster Teeth staffers in the chat as well, just interacting and chatting along, which is great. and it's really coming along. There's a lot of things as well that we're going to add in as we go, but we wanted to take this initial product and get it out. So, new sites for all of us.
Yeah, it's nice. I've been using the like little live chat function when we have our podcast, and I'm not on it because we rotate like the crew. So yeah, it's nice having a chat and everything, and it just works a lot better.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. Everything is a lot smoother now, which I know has been a long requested feature, and we've got it. And so far, the feedback for the new site's been awesome. It's been in beta for a while, so anyone could try it out. But now it's our new site, so you should absolutely check it out. And please let us know what you think. If you have any feature ideas, anything like that, we want to hear it. We want to make the site the best it can be. Now, speaking of things,
side question before we go.
Side question.
Isn't the website going to just be roosterteeth.com, not svod.roosterteeth.com?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's during the beta, it was svod.roosterteeth.com.
Right.
Now it's just roosterteeth.com. It is the site now.
Just clarifying.
So if you've been going to svod.roosterteeth.com, you don't need to do that anymore. All right. Clarified. Now let's talk about Far Cry 5.
What's that?
Okay, so this is the new game from Ubisoft, open world action game. It is the 5th mainline title in the game, although there have been, and we talked about some of the crazy ones before, but the most recent formula started with Far Cry 3, then there was Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, then there was Far Cry 4, Far Cry Primal, and now Far Cry 5. So this one has been, it's been getting a lot of attention really since it was announced because it is the first time that the Far Cry series is taking place in the US. So we don't get a lot of games that take place on like American turf. You know, there was, oh God, what was the, oh great, now I'm forgetting it. There was the game where you were trying to take back Homefront?
Yeah, Homefront.
Homefront, there we go. Where you're trying to take back American territory. And that one was like pretty cool when you're fighting in cities that you recognize. But not a lot of games do that. And Far Cry never has either. But now they are. So this game takes place in Hope County, Montana, and you are taking on this this cult called Eden's Gate. They're sort of a doomsday extremist, really twisted Christian-ish cult, and they're doing bad things, and you got to stop them doing bad things.
That sums it up. It's if you played Far Cry, it's more Far Cry. Like you said, 3 they like nailed the formula, and it feels so formulaic. Like everything happens the exact same way. It's kind of weird.
I mean, the game, the thing that 4 did was to me like basically copy and pasted 3. There was not like
entirely.
Even the setting was almost the same.
Yeah.
And it was just mountainous instead of island mountainous.
Yeah, but it still felt
evergreens.
Yeah, it still felt kind of tropical. It wasn't even evergreens. It was still like, or I don't remember that well, but it felt a lot like the tropical island. This one, like, I get what you're saying. It definitely still follows the Far Cry formula, 100%. Like, if you are burnt out on that formula, you're not gonna like this game.
Yeah, I mean, you get captured, you have the face-to-face talk.
Well, the captured stuff is the thing I hate the absolute most.
Yeah.
I think the story, to me, has been the weakest part of the game. That said, the way they let you sort of progress, like, take the game at your own, like, you could do you have more freedom because of the way that the regions progress. Like, I never take over fortresses. If I just want to blow up towers or blow up people's trucks, I can do that and never engage with the story mission aside from the mandatory ones, which I
and those you don't really have a choice about when they come up.
Right. Some people don't like the fact that they've changed the crafting. I appreciate it because it means that I don't have to hunt 14 cougars to get a backpack. I can instead go do some challenges, or I can do the hunting challenges and still engage with that and still get my backpack that way. But I feel like the loop is still fun, and for me, it was refreshing enough to make me want to play through it. But I totally understand that, like, if you're totally burnt out on the Far Cry formula, it doesn't really change a lot of that.
Well, this does one other thing as well, which, and I'm not, I did work on the Far Cry 2 campaign, but I don't really play the Far Cry games, and I don't have a specific reason for that because I really like open world games, mostly RPGs, admittedly, but this seems like the kind of game that I would like, so I don't know why I never really got into them. 5 is the first one that I've spent a significant amount of time with, and I really enjoyed it, but it also means that I don't know necessarily what is new and what's changed.
Totally.
But based on our discussion the other day, one of the shifts as well is that the entire map is open to you from the beginning.
Yeah.
Where before in 4 you would unlock areas after a certain period of time, right? Or a certain amount of progression.
You basically in 3 it was you finish one island and basically a whole other island opens up for you, or a whole section of another island opens up for you. So you're progressing the areas linearly. Although because the areas are so big, it doesn't really feel like you're being held back. It just means that you can't go to that other island without completing or getting to a certain point in the story in the first one. So
Gotcha. Whereas this one, you can choose. The game is sort of divided into 3 regions. There's the Whitetail Mountains, which are mountainous. There's the Henbane River, which is actually not all that much river to it. There's a river that goes up it, and you can use the river to traverse large areas, but it's mostly like little hilly,
I feel like it was
little
pretty
foresty.
similar to the mountain area.
Yeah.
Those two kind of blend together, and I don't really like those 2 areas.
Yeah. And then there is the valley, and that's where the farmland is, and it's like beautiful rolling hills, and here's the pumpkin patches and the apple orchards and that sort of thing instead.
Yeah, and then in this game, as opposed to the previous Far Cry games, the map isn't cluttered with nonsense where you're just trying to teleport
it's much easier to navigate,
from point to point, and here we're gonna do all the towers. Instead, it feels more organic. Like when you discover the prepper stashes, it's largely because there's a guy on the road, he's being held hostage. You kill the guys that are holding him hostage, and he'll be like, "Hey, dude, there's a thing over there if you want to go check it out." And then it's like an organic way to find stuff, and it's different. It's not that much different, but it is enough for me to feel like they've sort of refined the formula. They didn't change it a whole lot, but they definitely refined it.
You don't have to climb that many towers,
No,
you climb the one, and they make a joke of it.
Yeah, at the very beginning, you're like, I'm not going to make you climb towers all around the map.
There are 1 or 2 side missions where you can climb towers to blow
You still
shit
got to climb up to get the zip line every now and then. I found they use that trope a little bit, where it's like, okay, I got to go up the mountain to get a zip line and go down into the house. But, it's
that's all prepper stash stuff.
That's all prepper
so much
stuff.
of that, so much of that stuff, so much of that stuff is optional now. It's not. I like the fact that you can do the stuff that you enjoy in the Far Cry formula, rather than I have to engage with all these towers because otherwise I don't have the fucking map, or I have to go hunt these bears otherwise I can't carry anything. I appreciate the fact that they've added another level of freedom to the game.
Yeah.
The game is all about play the way you want, except for the main story where they deliberately pull you away no less than 7 to 8 times throughout the game.
Really annoying.
It's like 4 times per area.
I think it
times.
varies, yeah. And it's basically, if you don't know, the game is divided into 3 regions, like we said, and every region has a meter. And as you do more quests and side missions and things like that in the region, the meter will fill up. And it's divided into thirds, and every time you complete a third of the meter, you'll be basically whisked away onto some magical drug trip in every time you fill up the meter. And you have no choice. It kind of warns you that it's coming, either through an on-screen prompt
you've been marked. Someone is coming for you.
Yeah. And no matter what you're doing, it will pull you away into a mandatory, I don't know, probably 5, anywhere between 5 and 15-minute story mission. You're gonna have someone talking to you in your face, and they're gonna say all their words, and that's the only way the exposition happens, except for the primary story missions at the end of each zone. So I felt like for a game that focuses so much on, hey, you can do whatever you want. Go to this area, progress however you want to do it, and then suddenly it's no, you're coming with me. That was the one part I really hated. It was super jarring, and I felt like the story set up so strongly, and then those parts being the primary way the game told a story, it was kind of a letdown in terms of story. But in terms of gameplay, I'm still playing it because it's fun to blow shit up.
Yeah. I just feel like in comparison to 3, because 3 was at the time everybody was big explosions, multiplayer. It was a Michael Bay fest of FPSs, and then Far Cry 3 was this just Scorsese film kind of thing that was awesome, and it worked super well. And like I think for me, Far Cry 3 is like, it's like one of those top tier games. And I really do think like because of that, we got stuff like Wolfenstein. Like it really proved that, hey, narrative driven FPS can be a thing still and people will play it. And to see it like just boil down to 5, where it's like everything's there and it's a really good FPS that plays mechanically well and there's fun characters and like stabbing people and killing dudes with shovels it feels great. Like,
yeah.
And the takedown chains still feel amazing, but I don't know. It's just like the story just feels like they just hashed in. They're like, okay, what did we do that one time that worked? Okay, let's just do that again, but in America. And also, I don't know if it's like, I wish they were racist. I would feel better killing them if they were racist, like cultists. Like I thought that was like kind of like you're in Montana killing a bunch of cultists.
Is them kidnapping and killing people brutally not enough?
Not enough. For some reason, I had in my head that they were going to be really racist, and I was like, I could kill some racists right now.
I think a lot of people expected the game to take a stronger stance on the issues that they're tackling.
Everything.
They sort of don't.
They don't take really any stance besides like kill cultists.
I can see both sides of the coin there. Like some people just don't care and they just want to blow shit up, and that's what the game's good at. Honestly, I think if you have never played a Far Cry game and you're interested, this is basically a perfect Far Cry game, aside from the story.
But wouldn't you still say go play 3?
No.
Really?
Like the story in 3 is fantastic, but like the way they've refined the gameplay and the systems, like it's so much like I know you have to divorce yourself from the story to see this, but 5 is like it's a better game.
Well, no, the gameplay is better. Everything's more refined, but I just feel like the story in comparison is like a letdown.
Right, and it depends on what you want out of the game, Like if you just want a fun open world game to play, I think Far Cry 5 is a fantastic fun open world game.
One of the things that Far Cry 3 nailed, one of the things that everyone came away from the game with was Voss was amazing.
Well, and that mocap was like, which in 5, everybody gets in your face still, but they're just kind of dead-eyed. It's weird.
I like the expression in a lot of their faces in 5 because they have this sort of creepy, calm horse whisperer thing going on. Like they're just very calmly trying to convince you that they're right, and their eyes look very clear and sane.
And if you've been in the
what they're
Deep South,
saying is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I actually like the way they talk to you in this very calm, almost like paternal way, and they're just like they're being like this very thoughtful, and you're like you're right, you're making a lot of sense. And then you look to the left, and like there's a crazy eviscerated body that they hung up for decoration. And you're like, wait a minute, you're crazy. So I actually like that juxtaposition. I think that they've been chasing the Voss formula since 3. I think they've been trying to get that compelling, charismatic, but fucking insane character. They obviously tried it with Paganman in 4 and didn't quite get there. It just wasn't as strong a character. And keep in mind, this is from my impressions based on what I overall heard out of the gaming community, not firsthand, but I really like what they did with Joseph Seed in 5. And especially as you go through the story and you learn more, and he's talking to you more and sharing more of your story, you're like, holy shit, you are absolutely batshit insane.
Yeah.
But he's got charisma. He has this, I feel like as a character, he's got like this single-minded like dedication and confidence, and I think he's a great character. Your mileage may vary, obviously. I think he's the best of the 4.
That's the problem, is that I think they spread way too thin by having basically these 3 other lieutenants or heralds or whatever they are be so heavy in the story that they detracted from Joseph. Because if all those areas were Joseph led and like there was more story involved directly with Joseph, I would be a happier person, because I feel like his character is really strong. But the rest of them are just kind of nonsense. And it's all just like, let's go on this weird drug trip, and here's let me talk in your face again.
Yeah, I'm just now finishing up. I want to say it's Joshua Seed. It's Jacob, yeah. And his is like in every time you get shot with the bliss bullets, which is like a really lame
Is he the top left?
No, bottom left.
Oh, you're thinking of John then.
John, John.
The crazy torture dude?
Yeah.
Man, I love that area a lot.
It is good, but the bliss bullet thing and just the way
they've taken this drug and put it in bullets. Now they're shooting us with.
It's like every time that he's not directly involved, they're trying to kill me. But when he's involved, why do they've tied me up 3 times now? Like, just kill me. I don't get the point. But then every other day, any goon can kill me, no big deal. Like, it just doesn't feel like it thematically fits with how the game actually plays. And if they have these bliss bullets, why aren't they doing this to everybody all the time? Like, it's just, I don't know, that bugs me for some reason. It's like, we got this magic bullet, whereas in 3 and in 4, they had like a really good job of like, when you would go through a narrative scene, somebody would sneak out and like hit you in the pipe in the back of the head kind of thing, and it would feel like, oh shit, I got captured. Now it's just like, oh, this is the point where they capture me. Go, just shoot me. I'll just lay here.
Yeah,
like, it's just
Right. It sucks a little bit that those battles are unwinnable because everything, like you said, everything else in the game is about choice, like doing what you want, going where you want, when you want, how you want, except for these moments that you can't win.
where they literally have magic bullets. Like, it just feels.
I mean, and it's not any better in like Faith's area. Literally, the screen goes like sparkly, and it's like whoosh. Like there's just you have no option or choice. It's just like you're gonna get whisked away to some drug trip.
Mind you, there was one segment that comes towards like at the end of Faith's storyline that I had trouble with the suspension of disbelief in her area a bit, because with John, he's crazy torture guy. All right, sure, he's a sadist. Got it. That like it makes sense to some degree logically. Jacob's area, he's like a Cole the weak, it's type. The you got to get rid of the weak in the herd mentality. That all makes sense. Sure, like that, like fighting that makes sense. Faith's area is drug themed, and you go on these like vision quests, but I'm always like, wait a minute, how does she control the visions?
Yeah.
And so my suspension of disbelief breaks down there, and I still managed to enjoy it because I liked a lot of the things that happened. They were sort of weird, but I don't believe them in any way. However, that aside, there was one segment at the end of hers that was where like the drug dream world and the real world start to blend together, and that was pretty dope. I liked seeing it, even if I wasn't necessarily believing it.
Which that's also part of the formula too. Like the drug trip has been in 3 and 4, and they've been like story parts, which I just kind of wish they would change it.
Yeah, I'm pretty over it. Especially this game uses it so heavy-handedly. Yeah. It's like 10 times or more.
4 did a great job because you had those weird like Buddha quests and stuff, and like 3s were cool because it was like, hey, take this weird jungle drug, and I don't know, 3 just had this good thing. Your main character, Joshua Brody, I think it was.
Brody.
Yeah, was like, you were just like, sure, fuck it, I'm like screwed on Pirate Island anyways, jungle drugs.
Yeah.
And this one, I do think it's weird that now you're a silent protagonist.
It really bothers me because they're like, hey, you can customize your character and be your own.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it doesn't fucking matter. You never see him and you never speak.
Yeah.
I think it's cool in co-op. And we weren't able to co-op together because all 3 of us played on different platforms. You were on PS4, I was on Xbox One, you were on PC. So that makes that a little bit difficult. But in co-op, having a unique character, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah. I don't think it makes up for the fact that you're like, yeah, the previous games didn't have a silent protagonist.
Look, I don't mind that it's a silent protagonist because the protagonist is always seems to me not the draw of Far Cry. Front and center in every Far Cry marketing, whatever, is the antagonist.
Is the villain, yeah.
That's who is the most interesting character in the whole thing. The who you are is just someone to go through the story.
Yeah.
So the fact that this time they didn't name you, or they didn't tell you specifically who you are, I don't really care. 3
did a good job of giving you like, you connected with the character because he had like struggles to make. Like he had to choose between like basically going a couple different paths of like, here's this crazy jungle lady, or here's my like longtime girlfriend. Like started to be like pulled in different directions. So there was like some interest there with having a real protagonist. But
that's fair.
And the character built out well. Even the system in 3 where you got the tattoos for like all of your skill gains and stuff like that was just really good. Like everything played well together.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like they're chasing that the entire time, and I wish they would stop.
I think they're always going to be chasing the antagonists. I mean, that's.
There's no good reason. Like I don't know why they're like. I don't think they're going to top 3, and if they do, like kudos. But you try and follow the formula that tightly, you're just going to get like, okay, this is like the story's watered down, and then the mechanics are a little bit sharper, and we're just going to repeat that time and time again.
Well, I feel like I feel like they did nail a lot of things though. Like the setting in this game is fantastic. Like the Holland Valley is my favorite of the 3 areas, and that area was like it's so stunning to walk through like the apple orchards and like the pumpkin fields and just see like all like the reds pop against the greens, and there's just like a lot of really like beautiful and interesting areas in that game to visit. And the like I said, the way you find things organically, like the prepper stashes being puzzles, I feel like all that stuff was. It felt a lot more of an exploratory open world rather than like, let's hop in the gyrocopter and fly to this point.
Yeah, 4 was bad about that. Yeah, and it might sound like I'm kind of trying to talk shit, but it's like, it's still really good fun FPS. Like, it's just as a Far Cry, I don't know.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's
I feel like 3, they like reinvented, like they made the modern automotive wheel, and it was like, great. Now we've like, transportation is different because of you. Good job, guys. And then next up, they're like, now we made the spinner. And I'm like, what? That's cool, but no, like I just expected more.
Yeah, I don't.
Which
really...
is a bad, assumption to put on somebody because they've still made a great game. Like it's super fun. I can't kill enough people. Like it's great.
I don't think that they could really make like 3 was all about like how you can capture these outposts however you want, and that was like, hey, this is interesting. Like I can choose my own path of how I'm going to deal with these enemies, but I don't think they can really make that any more interesting without changing the gameplay significantly, like making it not a shooter, but like adding more than just guns and things. But I mean, I was kind of hoping that one day they would take, they make like Primal and Blood Dragon and like these really interesting offshoots of Far Cry. I was hoping
you go straight to magic.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd take like maybe like a fantasy approach and like dump as much in like love into it as they do the primary games. These games are huge and they have a ton to them. And I feel like if they would do that with like a more a more diverse setting, you might get what you're looking for. It's something that's just like a lot different. They are coming out with some crazy DLCs for this game though, like going to Mars, going to Vietnam.
Let's see, where are they?
Weird.
Yeah, there's like 3 episodes that they've got. There's where is this? One is Mars, one is Vietnam. What is the third one? 3 very different expansions.
Mars, Vietnam, and zombies.
Post-apocalyptic zombie scenario. So they are going to change them. They do say here, and this is a quote, all 3 of the DLCs really have their own identity. Mars, the Vietnam War, a post-apocalyptic zombie scenario, but at the same time we found ways to tie them into the main Far Cry 5 narrative.
It'd be a drug trip.
You might find or hear about characters you met in the main game in these strange new places, even on Mars. I have no idea what that means.
The cult won, so we had to leave.
Nope, I have ideas.
Yeah, you think the scientist guy is like, we found the aliens.
I have ideas at least about the Mars one.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what it is they do with it. It seems like they're trying to do kind of 3 mini blood dragons, and then maybe they'll see what comes out of that.
I like the idea, and Blood Dragon was cool, but.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the Blood Dragon guy just left Ubisoft.
Really?
I guess he had a new project, and it got canceled, and he was like, well. I want to work on the kinds of projects that I want to work on, so peace.
I feel like they threw the Far Cry arcade inside the game. Like that was kind of like, hey, we know y'all like this, so here's this arcade where you can do that kind of shit. Like, and everything's just over the top.
I have not played that since launch, and I really want to check it out. The first thing I did check out was like everything was like very colorful, like neonish.
It was, what we were able to see because we were playing pre-launch is like some samples that were made for by Ubisoft developers. So this is the trailer for the DLC. So you can see there's a little bit of like the Mars and the Vietnam and the zombies. So it's gonna be kind of weird. I wonder if the Vietnam one in the game you come across a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
And his some of his buddies. I think he's the last one, but they all had
he's
the
like
whole light request.
So I wonder if this will be visiting them. I have ideas about the Mars thing.
The Mars one looks like it's going to be like my favorite.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
The zombies one, I'm not interested even a little bit.
Yeah, I really don't know how that's gonna go. Some people really like their zombies. I'm not a zombie person.
Oh my god,
that's fine.
So tired at this point.
Yeah, I feel like if you that, like you can, just go play Call of Duty Zombies. That's fine. That's been there.
Yeah, even in 5, there already is a zombie-like enemy, which is just basically like a bliss head, a crackhead. But But man, I still I still have fun. I go home every day and I just like clear out some quests, and it's just fun to blow shit up in that game.
And it is, like you said, like it's super simple. You can just drive down the road and just be like, oh, there's a thing, I'll do that one. Oh, another thing. And like you don't have to worry about going to specific areas. You can just drive and, you know, finish out your meter for each zone and then you're good.
Yeah.
I wish, though, like they have the difficulty settings. I wish they had like a tedious setting, because sometimes it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna kill like so many more elites and free these, like, you know, rescue hostages and stuff. And I just wish you could cut it down sometimes.
It's very easy to get distracted because it's a big world, but there's always something going on pretty close to you. And if you go like overland, if you just like are like running through the forest, you know, you'll encounter some wildlife, and you'll occasionally encounter like some cultist like chasing down, you know, some poor person and trying to rescue them. But it's a lot less frequent. If you take the roads, you're going to make it 10 feet between occurrences. So one thing I wish, I want a plane slider. I want to turn the planes and the helicopters like down. I feel like that should be a rare resource for a Montana cult to have. But it seems like they've got an entire fleet of airplanes to send after me specifically.
I travel a lot by helicopter, so it hasn't been as much of a problem. So whenever I see them, I just
You travel by attack helicopter.
Yeah, mine came with an attack helicopter, super overpowered, but very fun.
See, I don't have that, and I get attacked by helicopters constantly and planes, and that is super annoying.
Yeah.
Like, they're not hard to deal with, but it's like when you're trying to like clear an outpost and then a helicopter shows up, you're just like, oh god, like again.
Yeah.
There is something about the stealth that's a little broken, which is why I didn't do stealth as much in this game. When you shoot an enemy with a silenced weapon, like a lot of times the other enemies will just start running around and then panic, and then it's on.
Right, like they might not see you, but they might have seen their buddy just fall to the ground.
But in previous Far Cry's, it was like you'd pick people off silently and no one would be any of the wiser.
Yeah.
Or at least it was a lot better about that. In this game, it's like as soon as you shoot someone, they're like, "What's going on? Let me run around! Oh my god!" And pull the alarm, and then the helicopters come in.
So fun game. Story, yeah, I would agree. It could probably be stronger. I don't mind it, but clearly, like, your mileage may vary.
It's not bad. I just want more.
I really like the game a lot. I think that it's if you have not played a Far Cry game and you're interested, definitely, it's 100% you should buy it. If you're tired of the Far Cry formula, this is definitely more of that, but it is a very refined Far Cry formula game, and it's fun.
And a couple of the side missions you should absolutely tackle if you get a chance. There's Out of This World.
Very good.
What's the movie one?
I haven't done it.
Gosh, the movie one is just funny because it's like there's some crazy ass director out in the middle of the wilds of Montana making a Blood Dragon movie. He's making like a Blood Dragon 3, and he's just a total asshole. But it's fun because it's sort of cheeky, and there's some Ubisoft self-deprecating humor in there.
There's a quest with it's called the Testy Festy.
Yeah. I did that one.
Do that one. Yes, that is absolutely a good one. And I'm trying to think.
And those are the quests that I was doing early in the game that like made me think this is a fucking fun game. Like, not only am I blowing shit up, but these side missions are really well done, and some of them are a lot more basic than that. But the ones that are well done are very, very fun and funny.
I wish they would mark those where it's like, hey, this one's kind of special.
Yeah, this is the one we put more time into.
Yeah.
Do that one.
Sometimes it's like, just go blow up 3 tankers, and then nothing happens. They're just like, thanks.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, well, that quest was a little.
I found that most of the ones you unlock from clearing outposts are the boring ones, for sure.
Yeah. There's also a haunted house.
Yeah. Are you talking about the prepper stash one? Or are you talking about the? I think I've done it. It was scary. I don't like.
It's in Face area.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah. Okay. But there's a haunted house thing. So there's that. So there's a lot of kind of like cheeky, weird, fun things. And I can see some people have criticized the tonal dissonance between the gameplay and the story. Because the story is quite serious. And then you know, you're running around
doing the testy festy.
Doing testy festy. And so there is a tone difference between the game's story and the game's gameplay. But
it's been that's in 3 you were burning down weed fields and listening to Skrillex, like.
Yeah, but that part was fucking awesome.
It was. I'm not complaining about it. Like, I'm just saying
your character had a voice that was like, haha, this is fucking awesome. I can't believe we're doing this.
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
Also do yourself a favor and get peaches. I think
No,
some people
cheeseburger.
No, well, look, some people are cat people, some people are dog people, some people are bear people.
I'm not a bear person. I'm a person.
but-
My name's Adam.
So far, Peaches has been my favorite companion.
Yeah.
I like Peaches. I like, as far as the humans go, which admittedly are a step down from all three of the animals.
They
but
say the
they're still
same
sometimes
lines
very human.
over and over and over and over. I think
Yeah, it gets
Nick
repetitive.
Nick can fix a plane with his eyes closed. Did you know that? He can do it.
But Grace is great. Bow Hunter Chick is great.
Bow Hunter Chick is great. She's very like edgy though. She says a bunch of edgy shit.
As long as she can like kill stuff,
Yeah.
she can say what she likes.
Yeah. I think Boomer's good because he marks people. But yeah, some of the companions are really fun. I
Yeah,
mean,
and they're each very different. Like Boomer will mark people, but then he'll also run in and get in a fight with some dog in the outpost, and then there goes my stealth.
Yeah.
Where Peaches, she's not going to mark stuff for you, but she does silent takedowns. And then Cheeseburger he'll go sit on stuff, and then it dies.
he rips people apart, dude.
It's pretty great.
I haven't gotten cheeseburger yet. Oh,
Cheeseburger's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
His collar has cheeseburgers
Aw,
on it.
that's
And you
cute.
can pet him, and you're petting like a big bear.
No.
God's a good bear. It's so good.
Yeah, petting the animals might be one of the highlights. Although, on the flip side of that, maybe I'm easy to please, but one of my only major complaints about the game is that Boomer won't ride in the back of my truck, and neither will Peaches.
Neither will Cheeseburger.
A cheeseburger, I can at least understand.
He should hop in the-
Bears
he
are
should
heavy.
hop in
I
the
don't know
bed.
that the truck can handle it, but I'm like, I got this truck. It's got a bed. Just get in it, and that way you're not going to be running next to me getting hit by cars the entire way to where we're going.
Can you not ride cheeseburger?
No.
That sucks because you could ride bears in Primal.
Oh yeah.
Well, look,
It seems like that should.
we've really devolved as a society since Primal. There is no more bear riding.
I don't know if
I
I
know.
want to play a game where I can't be the bear cavalry. That's kind of my thing.
I know it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. You know this is the era that we live in, and it's
tough. Yeah.
It's tough. Well, on that note, I guess we'll leave this topic behind because there have been a couple of interesting developments in the video game industry that I want to talk about as well. So let's do the news. All right, three things I want to talk about this week. First of all, you know what? We talked about Sea of Thieves earlier. Let's tackle that. Nintendo. Microsoft announced that Sea of Thieves already broke 2 million players. So the numbers, there's a lot of weird qualifiers around the numbers that they're putting out, which makes it a little bit confusing to try to analyze too much. They said there have been over 2 million players, and it's the best-selling new IP of this generation, of their own, which...
Not
So
surprised.
it's outselling Recore, Cuphead.
Gears of War.
Recore is terrible.
Not a new IP.
Oh, you're right. Shit.
New IP. So I'm trying to think doing better than Rise, I guess. So
I'm surprised.
That's pretty
I'm
dope.
actually surprised it's outselling Cuphead. That game was dope.
Cuphead is great, but Cuphead also operates on a kind of a different scale.
Yeah.
In that it's it is indie and it is also a torture game essentially.
It is.
It's a really cute, really well art directed torture game.
Yeah.
And it's self-torture, which makes it all the better and worse. God, I hate and I love that game.
They did a great job of showing you look, here's how close you got.
Yeah.
You still suck.
And
the
every
bar.
single time, every time you die, you know exactly why you died, and you know why it's your fault because
Yeah.
you just suck too much. And so you're like, I can do it this time. I can do it. No, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And
it's
there's
really,
the stupid
really
pool
good
where you
at
can
that.
see how many times you died. I hate that pool.
It's a good game though.
It's a
Fun.
great game. Great game. But Sea of Thieves outselling it. So they've had more than 2 million players. They had 1 million players in the first 24, 48 hours, and now they're 2 million. Based on the verbiage, what I think they might be saying is it's best selling, and they did say that selling does not include Game Pass numbers. But when they say 2 million players, I wonder if that does include Game Pass
Yeah,
numbers.
because you could sign up for the Game Pass for free and then get the game for 14 days for free, right?
Yes, because
So-
Game Pass has got the free trial, and this is admittedly anecdotal, but when we were talking about this, we were talking about it in a news read that because on launch day the servers fell over. They do that a lot for online game launches.
Yeah.
But they had so many tests in the weeks leading up to launch, and this clearly, they clearly still weren't prepared for the numbers. And I was theorizing that it might have been more Game Pass users than they anticipated also jumping in, and that threw all their servers out of whack. And So I'm wondering if the 2 million players count includes those. It seems like there were a lot.
I would assume that includes it.
I mean, there like in the comments of that video, there were people being like, yeah, me and like 10 of my friends are all doing it via Game Pass to check it out.
Most of the people I know got it through Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think that it's in the future it can be worth the full retail price.
But right now, $60.
But right now, I just don't think that there's $60 worth of content in it.
Dude, I wouldn't pay any amount of money for that game. No offense. It's like a really nice game, and it's a well-made game, but there's nothing fucking in it. Nothing.
Yeah. So I think that once they get a couple of like expansions and new content rollouts, then it'll grow into itself. But you also can't tell people, no, pay $60 now. Eventually, it will be good.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think that I wonder to some degree how much Microsoft just wants you to do Game Pass anyway. Because if they can get that Netflix model going and get people playing their first-party stuff through this and paying out, sure you're paying $3 a month instead of $60 for the game, and so you theoretically save a lot of money. But if you just keep that subscription going, eventually it adds up to a lot of money.
I can see that, and I mean, I know a lot of people. Like you sign up and then you forget about it, and you're like, whatever, it's not that much, and then you keep it for like 6 years. So,
right. Well, because like now I have an Xbox Live Gold subscription, and I can't let that lapse. Do you know why? Because I got that stupid number next to it that's like, here's how many years you've been on Xbox Live, and I really like that number being high, and it's stupid, and it doesn't matter in any way.
Well, that
but
one time
I really, really don't let it lapse.
They sent out the special Xbox 360s, or maybe it was Xbox One for the people that had been on Xbox for a decade.
$3 a month. It's not $3 a month. It's $9.99 a month.
Still, I mean,
so $10 a month, but that's like paying for a game every 6 months.
Yeah, and how many of us have Netflix accounts because we signed up on a free trial and we're like, yeah, okay, I like this, and just kept it.
Yeah, you're like,
so.
Well, I use
well.
Netflix every day. So.
Yeah.
That's also going to include any of the exclusives that are coming out in the next few months, like State of Decay, Crackdown, whenever that eventually releases, etc.
So all of Microsoft's first-party stuff will be day and date Game Pass, which is I think they would almost rather drive you into that, because things like Fortnite have shown they can be like, we've got 40 million players, and it's like, well, that's not how many people have bought into it. But players is still like a very useful stat, and it still looks really good for them.
Oh yeah.
And so if they can get people like in this free trial and be like, 2 million players in the first week for Sea of Thieves, that is a great number for them to show.
Very impressive.
It means that that's a number of people who have gotten and engaged with that game and with that brand.
I'm honestly kind of a little surprised it's so popular for what it is.
It's because it really is fun to play. But in the moment. Mm-hmm. But then but how long are you going to play it? If you're going to play it more than, if you want to jump in for an hour or two and just go do a mission because you know what you're getting, you're going to kill some skeletons, go on a raid, whatever. It's like, it's fun in that moment.
Yeah.
But if you do it too much, too long, I think it'll be just so churny.
I think it's popular because everyone wants to play a open world pirate game with their friends, but it's just not. When you actually get into it, it's just not really anything to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll quick step some of their content drops. I'm very curious to see what their next announcements are. They have at least shown that they're listening to people. Like they were like, well, we'll do the death tax, and everyone said no, and they said, okay, we won't do the death tax. So they're making some progress there.
But if that was their first idea, like, what's the next one gonna be?
Yeah, fair enough. I know we all have our wish lists. We talked about some of our feature wish lists last week. If they just go ahead and implement our plan, I think it'll be a very solid
Damn straight.
game. Yeah.
Make my game.
Next up, so while we're talking platforms and such, Nintendo. So it's not the newest thing ever happening, but they recently rolled out their 5.0.0 update, their firmware update for the Nintendo Switch, and this has dramatically increased the number of third-party docks bricking Nintendo Switches.
Yeah, because they had that problem with the Nikon or Nyko docks for a while. So
that problem has been around a bit. Now it's escalated dramatically. Basically, since that firmware update happened, and this, so it's all over. It's all over like their subreddits and their forums, and it's like their Amazon reviews are tanking because people are going and being like, hey, this dock bricked my console.
Is either company doing anything to like replace or refund for the bricking?
So Nintendo's official stance is third-party stuff is not tested. It's not guaranteed. You shouldn't be using it.
Makes sense.
Nyko said they're looking into it. They're trying to figure out exactly what it is that's causing it. There are some conspiracy theories, conspiracy theories makes them sound like all crackpots. So not conspiracy theories, but there are some theories from people worried that Nintendo is doing this intentionally to cut down on the third-party accessory adoption. I don't know.
That is a conspiracy theory, I'm afraid. That seems a bit crazy.
Well, I think that it's extreme. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more just Nintendo being negligence, not the right word, but they don't even think about third-party stuff when they're going to implement something. So say they change something.
Their intention wasn't for it to brick, but they didn't worry about what was going to happen.
They don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
Because they're like, you're using third-party stuff, whatever, it's not under warranty.
I mean, Nintendo is the peripheral company, so I see them wanting that market to themselves, but I don't think they're going to maliciously be like, we're going to brick switches.
Yeah, maliciously, I doubt it.
Yeah.
But could they be just like not considering third-party stuff at all? And they're like, we're going to roll out like some change with how like the battery handshake works. I don't know enough about like the actual circuit stuff to know exactly how they would change that via firmware. But if they were gonna, they clearly changed something. And by doing so, they could test it with their own stuff, but they are not gonna bother testing it with any other stuff. And so if they change that and it dramatically impacts that third-party stuff, they don't really care.
Listen, third party, like other companies can make officially licensed Nintendo products, and they're probably all in the clear. So,
like Hori.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. This doesn't seem like it's not. I definitely don't think it's Nintendo being, trying to brick people's consoles because they're using other shit. But
that said,
I also don't really care if it's them just not testing third party. Of course, they're not testing third party accessories. Like, why would they?
That said, one thing that I would like to take Nintendo to task for is, so these consoles get bricked. Okay, fine, sure, that's your fault. But guess what? There's no cloud saves. Nothing is on SD cards. Everyone whose console gets bricked because of this is going to lose everything that they have played for the last year. Every save.
Yep.
And I think that if you don't want to support third-party stuff, that's, you know what, Nintendo? That's a very Nintendo mindset. And I get it. But what if stuff like this is not only possible, but happening on a reasonably frequent basis? The least you can do to protect your customers, even if it's from themselves and from their money-saving decisions, put saves on the SD card. We all basically have to have an SD card anyway, because there is virtually no memory.
You get
no space.
One or two games there, and then you're
right. And so we all have to get SD cards anyway. We all have to pay the extra money to get them and put them in our Switch. Put the saves there. Or put them in, even better, put them in the cloud.
It's ridiculous. Like, I keep thinking, because I like the Switch. I don't think it's a great home console. I do think it's a fantastic new Game Boy. But just the fact that, like, you don't have the internet or Netflix, like, what is that? It's incredible. Like, how does it not have either of those things yet?
I mean, I wouldn't use it for that because it's like you said, it's like a portable console. I'm not watching Netflix like
no,
this.
but like with the new Netflix apps, like you can on the Windows 10 Netflix app, for example, you can actually download most not most, but most of their first-party original stuff. You can, and some of their third-party stuff. You can download those episodes, and they will be in the app for you to watch offline. So, say you're on a plane, which is a very handy place for a Switch. You could just have your stuff there.
That's totally fair.
And it would be very, very useful.
And it's just also like, what doesn't have Netflix these days? Like, I'm pretty sure there's Samsung refrigerators that have Netflix and Twitter, and like, we can't even get on the internet.
I would
with the
love
Switch. It's crazy.
a fridge with Netflix. That would be, because I always watch TV while I'm cooking. That makes sense. Samsung, hook me up.
I mean, the original PSP had a web browser, I think. Or maybe it was just a Vita that had one.
Yeah.
It's still, like, just why not? Why is it not there?
For me, the like I will give that up because if I'm traveling, I've probably got a phone where I can download my Netflix stuff.
Yeah.
Or I've got my laptop where I can download my Netflix stuff. Okay, fine. I can get that somewhere else. But for a handheld console like this, I need to know that if this thing breaks, I don't lose everything.
Or even if you
That's
just lose
important.
it. Like, you'll never lose your Xbox, but you might leave your Switch at the airport. And, like, then what? You gotta start Zelda over again? That's terrible. Like, that should not be, especially don't make 80-hour-long games where it's just on the, like, it's, here you go, lose that and you're screwed. Like, that's crazy.
It's that is one of the biggest things that bothers me about the Switch. And then also the lack of Bluetooth headphone support.
Yeah, it's annoying too.
But cloud saves, I think, are going to be an easier thing for them to implement.
I imagine
Either cloud saves or save management. And I think there might be Ben, you want to check this? I think there might be like some like weird ways to get around it. I remember at least hearing something about processes to try to get your saves onto an SD card, but I don't know if those ever worked out.
We talked about this previously, where if the saves are on your SD card, you just copy them and move them to the new SD card. Like they're literally just a file on the SD card you would copy, but I could be wrong.
Here we go. Nintendo Switch save games to SD card. So okay, you can transfer stuff to, but you have to archive it.
Oh, I see. So it's
Yeah,
not
if
just
I have to go
automatically
through
like that.
8 steps
Yeah, that's
to keep my save data, that's just like.
Yeah, if the console's breaking, it
That's-
doesn't do any good.
yeah. I think that's not what's requested.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
It's have it there, have it somewhere that if something happens to the console, it can be pulled off before you send it off to be repaired, because that will almost always erase everything. Or even better, do cloud saves. I don't. That seems like one of the easier things they could possibly implement.
You know,
Maybe that's going to be a feature for their online service, the one that they want to charge people
That would
for.
make sense.
I'm not sure if this is possible to do in a firmware update or something, but when you put the Switch to sleep, it loses internet connection. So like every time I'm downloading a new game, I have to keep it on. Or like if I turn it off, it loses Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah. So
Not
if
even
they could-
not just put it to sleep.
Yeah, if they could sort of address that, either have it like, you can maybe even set that option yourself. Do
Yeah.
you want it to keep connection and keep downloading stuff while it's asleep or not? That could be a setting, fine. But it's pretty commonly done with other consoles. Xbox does that. You turn it off and it goes,
Yeah.
okay, and then it'll sync everything up, and then it'll be like, then it'll go to sleep.
Yep.
So I think there's, especially in light of issues like this, which again, Nintendo says, just don't use third-party stuff. Okay, fine, but things happen to consoles all the time. This is just the latest example of things that can really ruin your day, and then it makes for very unhappy Switch customers, and they might, like, if you lose everything, you might not go back to that stuff because you're just feeling burned.
Yep.
And that makes unhappy people, and unhappy people don't buy more of your games.
And plus, the first-party stuff is really expensive. Like, I mean, the controllers are like $60, right?
That dock, when they announced you could buy another of their docks, it's like $90.
Yeah, like, what the hell
they
is
dropped
that?
the price, but it's still like $70. I think it's more than a game.
Yeah,
And
that's way
and the docks
too
are
much.
these shitty little plastic things. I don't know why they would cost $70.
Yeah, I'm sure the third-party ones are probably like $30, which sounds completely reasonable. It's fine, It's just like, of course, the people are going to buy third-party
I think
ones.
there's a smaller dock for the Switch that is cheaper. I got one from Japan. It's Nintendo branded. It's like this big. You just stand it in there. And
So there are options,
Yeah.
but still, I think this is something that I would really like to see them address sooner rather than later, because it makes me worry a lot about my Switch. I don't use a third-party dock, but a lot of things can happen to my little handheld.
Yeah, it's just silly that any of that stuff is still happening. And like, what is the dock doing? I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but what's it doing that's breaking it? Like, it seems like, oh, pass power through, send the connection to the TV. We're good here.
So what it seems to be doing is so the power is still getting into it, but the battery just doesn't charge. So I don't know if there's just one little thing between the power and the battery that breaks or fizzles out or something, or if it's the battery itself that is getting affected somehow. But that pass off is not happening.
Okay.
finally, GDC was happening last week, and there was a discussion about Steam, and this was there were a couple discussions about Steam, but the dude who runs Steam Spy, Sergey Galyonkin, he did an interesting breakdown on Steam revenue, and first of all, Steam makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
But most of that money goes to 100 people. Like the top 100 games make most of the money that goes into Steam.
Yeah.
And then when you couple that with the sheer number of smaller titles that are being released on a daily basis, the average indie developer is making less than $30,000 back on whatever they put out, which is not enough for a lot of people to live on these days. Or it's
actually,
it's tight.
That's doing a fairly okay indie launch from, I know a handful of indie developers, and we've published a handful of indie games back in the day, and that's not the worst you can do for certain.
I think part of this is that the case used to be for indie developers that making it onto Steam was enough for you to get noticed and to do pretty well.
That's your resume.
If you make it on Steam, you have a chance to get seen and then to get that word of mouth going.
Yeah,
now the noise floor is so high that getting onto Steam is not really worth anything in and of itself.
Right.
There's got to be almost a dozen games a day or something.
There's sometimes up to 40 games a day. So you'll have the new and trending list, which is 10 games. And there's maybe 30 other games in that list, and those are all for just the one day. And it used to be that list you'd see a new game every couple days, and so you'd be on that list for a good week or something, or maybe, and that would be enough to give you the exposure to people looking for new games. And now it's nope. If you don't have a good marketing campaign, if you don't send stuff out to streamers and hope they play it, or post Reddit AMAs or whatever, you're in trouble.
Which I think that on the one hand, it's the indie developer's job to try to promote their game.
Totally.
And to do their own marketing. It's not necessarily Steam's responsibility to market your game just because you put it on that platform.
No.
But it never has been. What Steam offered indie developers was a place where they could be discovered, and now it's really tough. I'm looking at these numbers here, and it looks like there was an indie developer, Micros. Hold on, really. Got it. Oh, base.
I definitely don't think it's indie developers' job or Steam's job to market for an indie developer, but being discovered was part of their marketing, on Steam, and now it's impossible to find any games worthwhile. Because even games that I know I do it myself. If a game has less than a few hundred reviews, I'm not really gonna to look at it because clearly it hasn't made a big splash, and games that make a big splash are the ones you want to look at, and you don't want to have to sift through all the crap yourself. And I think that's
at the same time,
mentality
there's plenty of great games out there that have 5 reviews.
I'm sure there's bajillions of them, but that's the thing is that because of this sea of other bullshit, you're just not getting it.
Okay, so I found it. So this was developer Mike Rose. He's the founder of a small publishing outfit called No More Robots. And so he also did a presentation at GDC, and this was very similar. Just a lot of the data matched up with what the Steam Spy guy was saying. He said, this is in February, so last month, around 850 games launched on Steam. So that was about 40 per day. And then the average game on Steam. So this is the just average. There are some that will do better, some that will do worse. We'll do 2,000 copies and make about $12,000 in its first month, and then it would make up to $38,000 in its first year. So for I think one of the things about that is so it's average, which means that you get what's included in that is the Alloboys, the Stardew Valleys, the Undertales, the ones that do really, really, really well. Of course, along with the ones that no one has ever played or discovered. And part of that, I think, is I don't know about you guys. I'm a little bit burned out on discovery on Steam because there are so many asset flips and there's so little curation that's getting done.
Yes.
And Steam did away with their Greenlight platform,
Yeah.
which like required people to like vote up and be like, we want to see this on the platform, and instead went with this. Here's an entry fee. You have to pay a certain amount, and they tried to find. I can't remember. It was like a $100-$200. Basically, there's a fee that every game has to pay to be listed on Steam. And they were hoping that that meant it would reduce the number of asset flips because they wouldn't make that money back, essentially. So they would just not bother. And that hasn't worked at all. That backfired spectacularly because since they changed that that process, so many more games are getting listed on Steam on a daily basis.
There's so many like Android ports of shitty Android games and stuff that like doesn't even have a proper interface. It's all like touch interface. You just click it with your mouse. Fucking garbage, man.
Yeah, and there's really like there's no curation.
And
there's nothing.
They tried to like put that on
happens.
like like Total Biscuit is a curator and he can recommend games, but it's like you can't make your platform dependent on like your users to curate all the games for you. Like.
Yeah, look, Valve's philosophy is very user-driven. They have they've got like trending. That's why they do the user reviews, and that's why they do all of that and build algorithms to surface based on what people are reviewing well, because they do rely very much on that sort of crowd mind. That's their philosophy for how their philosophy seems to be: the good stuff will get discovered and will rise to the top. But that, like, we also don't know how many great games are not getting discovered because they're buried under a mountain of asset flips that the Valve won't bother to do anything about.
And I mean, that philosophy clearly did work, but now with letting pretty much the floodgates just open, I think they probably just need to change philosophy because, there's, I assume, quite a few great games that are just going completely unnoticed.
Yeah. And, I'm sure there are a bunch of terrible games going unnoticed as well.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure that in that 40 a day, there are some good games.
Yeah.
And that we just
What do you think the solution?
find.
What do you think the solution is? Do you think Steam should have a curation team where they have a group of 50 people that will just play games nonstop and decide if it's worth putting on a store?
Well,
I think to some degree, sure. I think that at the very least, if they have a team of people who if someone submits a game, they have someone who will open it, play through it, make sure that it is, in fact, a game and that it is a playable game before it gets through them. I think that this is their platform, and they don't want to censor people. They made that very clear with the whole hatred issue, where one of the executives delisted it, pulled hatred off Steam, and said, "We don't want that kind of crap here." And Gabe Newell put it back up and was like, "We're not about telling you what you can and can't play." But it is also their platform, and I think that it is not really doing them any favors to just allow all this, the asset flips and the not games. I think that it sort of gives them a bad name too. And if they would just check that, if they would just have someone load up the game and make sure that this is a game that you can play, that would do a lot.
Yeah.
I think there's a middle ground between them and what Nintendo's doing, because the Switch is in like a golden era of like it's got its own indie gold rush happening now, and that's because Nintendo does actively like curate. They're like, oh hey, let's look at these games, see how they are. Okay, that's good enough. We'll put it on the console. And so they've had like a huge boom with indie, and I think that that's probably somewhere in between their two styles is probably what they need to do. Just like you said, have somebody be like, oh, that's an actual game, instead of World Z, Zombie Shooter 3000. And you're like, oh, that's a piece of shit. Let's not worry about that. Throw that aside. Like, you can usually tell just by the thumbnails on a lot of games where you're like, oh, they're just trying to get a quick dollar and they've put no effort into it. Buy. Like, just, doesn't need to be a huge thing, but just, I feel like a few people could go through and just clean out the trash that is complete garbage coming in.
And if they want to do something to crowdsource that, like if they want to have volunteers who get bounties or something like that, for thumbs upping, thumbs downing, like this is an actual game, this is not an actual game, to at least
Give
like
them some
flag,
Steam wallet credit.
yeah, or like just something to help at least either flag the bad ones or flag the legit ones. I'm not sure which there are more of at this point.
Yeah.
How many titles have you gone through in your queue?
Oh my God,
Tons.
Thousands.
Yeah.
so many.
Every time I go through it too, there's some new shitty zombie game, some Minecraft clone. Like it's always there.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the queue is all like, you played one of these games, here's a million of them. I played Into the Breach, and for the next like 400 games I looked at, it was like tactical strategy game, turn-based. Like I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So it's a tough problem for Valve to tackle. Admittedly, 40 games a day is not an easy number to curate. But I think that given the amount of garbage that's ending up on their platform, it would be healthy for the Steam ecosystem to do something about that. And that way, it's so that they can, the more indie developers can be discovered properly and get that word of mouth going and generate more legitimate game sales for Steam, the happier the customers will be, the better and healthier the ecosystem will be, and the more that indie scene can flourish.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a good step. So Valve, we got you fixed. It seems like an easy solution.
No, I don't know about easy.
Well,
we could just sit down and try and play the 40 games that come out every day.
Yes, that'll be my new job.
Is what I'm saying. Because if my job could just be playing shitty games, like it still seems okay. Like seems all right. Like I'll just check them out.
I don't want that. Don't put that on me.
I think it'll just take 5 minutes per game. Be like, sucks, bye. Like
it can be the new Funhouse show.
There you go. Give it to them. They like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They love bullshit.
I wasn't going to go that far, but they do manage to make a lot of entertainment out of some terrible, terrible games. All right, I think that does it for this episode of Glitch Please. Thank you for watching. If you're a Rooster Teeth First member, you can catch our post-show New Game Plus exclusively on the website, which is now bright and shiny and new. And, of course, we will see you next week for more Glitch Please.